If I had a nickel for every time I learn that something or other degrades with age or gets harder as we get older, I'd have a lot of nickels. At this point, I laugh with every new discovery of some bodily process that starts declining at an age that I now consider young. So let's just review a few of the greatest hits, shall we? Muscle. We lose about 1% of muscle per year or 10% per decade after the age of 40. But here's the real issue, according to Dr. Andy Galpin.
So people will tend to hear numbers like you lose about 1% of muscle size per year after age about 40. And that's true. However, what they don't realize is you lose about 2 to 4% of your strength per year. So the loss of strength is almost double that, the loss of muscle mass with aging. Muscle power is more like 8 to 10% per year. And so we can very clearly see the problem you're going to have with aging is not going to be preservation of muscle, although that is incredibly important. It's going to be very specifically preservation of muscle power and strength. And why that really matters is your ability to, again, stand up and move, your ability to catch yourself from a fall, your ability to feel confident doing a movement. That is a function of muscle power more than it is muscle size.
In terms of what's most likely to take us out, Dr. Peter Attia says hypertension is about a 20% increase in mortality. Type 2 diabetes is about a 30% increase in mortality. Smoking is a 50% increase. Being weak relative to being strong is about 250%. Like, wow. Okay, next up, VO2 max. We lose 5 to 10% of our VO2 max per decade after we hit 30. And that decline picks up steam after 50. If our training volume and intensity drops, VO2 max is commonly cited as the single greatest predictor of all-cause mortality because the number reflects all the work it took to achieve and maintain it. How about sleep? As we age, we get less deep sleep or slow wave sleep. And as a result, things like noise and movement that you would have just slept through in the past are more likely to wake you up. And then there's performance, which will come as a surprise to absolutely no one. As our strength declines, so goes power, especially those fast twitch fibers for sprinting and explosiveness. And of course, I should add recovery. We recover slower and we need more of it. Shocker, I know. Like, I could populate an Excel pivot table with all the stuff that goes downhill with age, but really, they all fall into one big bucket, a loss of resiliency. And this was my favorite moment in Peter Attia's interview with Joel Jamieson last year.
One of the hallmarks of aging is this sort of lack of resilience, and we see it on every level, but this is just a very notable example, which is even at the level of the autonomic nervous system, we lose the ability to recover from insult. And life is an insult.
Exactly.
Everything in life is an insult.
The world around us is insult to us all the time. It's just we can respond much better to it as we're younger. Age reduces your margin of error. That's what it comes down to. I mean, I'm 44, and you can do a lot of things wrong in your 20s and maybe in 30s, and you can still get a lot of benefit out of it because you're so resilient. Your metabolism will adapt. But like you said, the older you get, the less you can do that, and so you have to be much more acutely aware of what your body can and can't do.
I like how they bonded over their shared loss of resiliency. What it means is that the things that you could get away with when you're young, they don't fly after 40. And suddenly, foods that were little indulgences keep you awake. Dinner at 8 p.m. with friends? Good luck. In your 20s, 10 grams of protein was all it took to build muscle. After 50, you better aim for at least 30. Really uplifting start to a new year, isn't it? Well, here's some good news. It doesn't have to be this way because you, my century riding friend, are far more likely to live well longer. The thing is, for every Debbie Downer factoid I've encountered over the past 2 years, I am buoyed by the fact that we are doing so much to hold the decline at bay, to maintain much of what we have. And I'll say it again, you are likely fitter than the average 30-something. And that is something to celebrate. So as we go into 2026 together, keep doing what you're doing. The word of the year for me is intentional. Like, riding bikes is fun, but I'm also okay with challenges that help fight so-called normal aging, which is really not normal at all. It's just that the majority of people aren't doing enough to maintain what we have after middle age. There are 8 things that I'm going to focus on. It's not really a New Year's resolution kind of thing, more like recommitting to them this year. Starting with number 1, continuing to mix up my ride intensities. In addition to my fun mountain bike rides that kind of turn out to be intervals anyway, I want to include a VO2 max ride per week and sprints to keep those fast twitch muscles firing, thresholds every once in a while to help better process lactate, and maybe even give me a bump in my FTP or functional threshold power. According to a meta-analysis in sports medicine, higher intensity training provides 3.9 times the mitochondrial growth. And another recent study showed that vigorous intensity exercise is 4 to 10 times better in terms of all-cause mortality. Dr. Rhonda Patrick really nails the cardiovascular benefits here.
What I'm about to say will blow people's minds. I know it blew mine. And that is that vigorous intensity physical activity, for every 1 minute of vigorous intensity physical activity, you had to perform 7.8 minutes, almost 8 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity to get the same risk reduction in cardiovascular related mortality. I mean, that is insane.
That is insane. And I'm also going to try to 2, hit the gym twice a week, every week. I will admit that I'm training for my next Misogi at the moment, and if you're on my email list, you know what it is, and you know what I'm doing. And if you're not, you can sign up for that here. Anyway, I am finding it hard to train for something very hard and fit in 2 sessions in the gym every week. But when it's over, it's on. And not just for muscle strength, but bone strength, proprioception, how your brain knows exactly where your limbs are at any given moment, better metabolism, cognition, and down the road, independence. I'm also going to continue my current obsession with number 3, diet. Because if I learned one thing last year, it's the delicate balance between effort and the amount of carbs required to foster deep sleep without gaining weight, which also happened last year. So different intensities require different amounts. And of course, always lots of protein. So if you're not sleeping well, play around with it. Keep track of your rides and what you're eating after, and maybe try uploading your ride and sleep data to AI and see what works for you over time. Diet is a recovery tool, and because I learned a lot about this last year, I'll continue to, number 4, deploy all the recovery tools. Learning how to downshift from sympathetic to parasympathetic dominance to lower cortisol quickly post-ride is gold. Things like ending your rides in zone 1, 5 minutes of post-ride deep breathing, etc. The whole toolkit is here, and I'm really also looking forward to number 5, group rides. This year, I will say yes to more group rides because A, it's just a great way to meet fantastic, positive, outdoorsy people, and B, they leave me on such a high. And they're a giant hedge against social isolation, which is actually harmful to the brain. And speaking of the brain, I'm going to try to write every day, whether it's an email to you or a script for my channel or just a comment. I love the challenge of writing, and it gives me purpose. And here's the science connection. Large longitudinal studies like this one show purpose is linked to lower all-cause mortality, independent of physical activity. So if you're retiring this year, you might want to think about what gets you out of bed in the morning. And you'll also want to be vigilant about number 7, managing stress. Say it with me. Stress is the devil. You can't out-train chronic stress. In my recent HRV video, Joel Jameson says that people underestimate the impact of stress on HRV. Your ride is just an hour or two in your day. It's all the other stress that has a huge impact on heart rate variability. I think you have to actively identify it and do what you need to do to root it out. It's just part of training as you get older, as is number 8, mobility. Part of my nightly glide path to bed is some stretching and easy mobility movement as we watch TV. First of all, it keeps me from falling asleep on the couch, which is the kiss of death for me. And my muscles feel noticeably more flexible, and that sets me up for better sleep. And when you're flexible, you move better. When you move better, you look younger. But there's also mental flexibility. And approaching 2026 with a mindset to not only keep going, but filling in any gaps and learning new things requires remaining open-minded and curious. It's all about experimenting with new ways of doing things and, see how it goes. It's rare, but occasionally sometimes people let me know in the comments that they are fine and dandy with the status quo. Thank you very much. Allowing your mind to close to new information limits growth, and you just end up sounding old and cranky, and that's not us. So those are the things that I'm going to prioritize this year, and I want to know what's front and center for you. Like, are you going to shake anything up for the new year? Let me know in the comments. And here's to being the best we can be for yet another year. I could not be happier to have you on this journey with me. Happy New Year. I'll see you soon.
Let your spirit rise.